Whenever you're ready.
Okay, this is okay, yeah? Okay.
I thought you just...
Yeah?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
How would you describe yourself?
Well, I'm first of all shy, and I'm also, very, very quiet, and yeah, I'm just private, really, I just talk less, but yeah.
What would you say was your greatest achievement so far?
Well, I think I would say releasing my photo book, but also getting to Vogue Italia, getting that recognition, for creating an artistic project that I did in Somalia. So yeah, that was kind of like the most profound moment for me.
You grew up in Holland and London.
Yeah.
Tell us about your upbringing.
So yeah, I was born in Gouda, and I lived in Rotterdam for like 10 years. So my 10 years of living in Rotterdam, I lived in this area called Watergraafstraat. It's like Water Street. So it's like in these flats where like Turkish and Moroccans were like the majority in my area. Yeah, I mean, I was surrounded by kids who were just like crazy, just love football. I used to see kids wearing Besiktas kits, Fenerbahce kits, and they love football, crazy, you know what I mean? So like the Somalis that I lived around, they were like living in other parts of Rotterdam. So the only time I used to see them is like if I go to mosque with my dad, he used to cycle me to mosque. And I was young and I was like sitting in this little pig. You know, like when you sit on a cycle, I was like at the back. Yeah. And then he would go to all the adairs and talk about politics after they pray, and they had this little maqa head. So yeah, that's like the kind of surroundings I was with. So yeah.
How would you describe your style of photography, and what do you like to capture?
So my style of photography, it's kind of like fashion, kind of a little bit more towards art, leaning towards more art. So it's not 100% fashion, like not just more about clothes, but more about capturing people, but more or less about the artistic value of the image and the work itself, So that's why I think for me, language is important within part of my work,
What was it like for you being in Somalia for this project?
My first ever trip to Somalia. The whole experience was like crazy, just getting from the airport all the way to Dubai and then coming towards the airport. And then one thing that you're not used to is obviously the surroundings, the people. I've never seen so many majority, Somali people, oh my God, I'm really in, you know what I mean? And I saw my uncle for the first time, I hugged him, I was like, mashallah, this is beautiful. And then we drove. And once we drove as well, I remember, there was no seatbelt. And I was like, wait, no seatbelt? What? Obviously when you're on an Uber in London, your seatbelt's there, so it's you're safe, right? I got on towards my uncle's car, there was no seatbelt. I was like, oh, snap. I was like, am I gonna really live it? You know what I'm saying? But I think when I got towards his house was big, and then we had some food, I had some Somali food, it was amazing. It was beautiful, just the experience, I felt Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I just felt like I was Will, just looking in the car. I was just amazed, really. Yeah, just beautiful. The people, the culture, the cars, even the police, the way they dress, very lousy, but it's got style, you know what I mean? Yeah, and it's beautiful, all that.
Do you think your Somali culture influence what you capture on the lens?
I think at the beginning of this project, I had a lot of finding myself. Do you know what I mean? A lot of it's to do with, researching more about my country, more about just the whole country in general, just finding more about it, because I was, curious. Because at the beginning, I didn't know much about it. I mean, my dad will tell me like half-halves, but I just had to find more about it, self-study, self-knowledge, and self-finding myself. And just also getting back to my Somali roots, you know what I mean? So yeah, I just felt like, the way, even like looking at old history from Aruelo to like, just looking at, great people that made like great, you hear like great stories and like beautiful artists like Hibo Noura, you know what I mean? All the way to Arash King, literally, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's mad, it's beautiful, you know what I mean? Like self-absorbed knowledge, yeah.
So do you think that all of those things influence your, what
Yeah,
you capture, definitely?
Exactly. There's many things like from football culture to like clothes, to portraiture, to that kind of surrounds you, to households, to just something that just resonates any Somali as a person, really. You know what I mean? Like it could be rings, it could be any subject matter that kind of like really kind of touch somebody's, identity,
You also work with some of the biggest fashion magazines like Vogue.
Yeah.
What was that like, being a Somali in that world?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's great. I mean, it was the editors that kind of approached me, because they were wild at my projects that I was doing as well with Somalia, and it was like, yeah, we want to use it for their festival, and they did an exhibition in Italy, and I was like, wow, like they're really gonna do this, like me, you know what I mean? But it was just beautiful because they recognized me, and I respect that, you know what I mean? It just shows that, anything's possible, you know what I mean? If you put the graft in. But more or less it's just very natural, the way they approach me and everything. Yeah.
Tell us about Hargeisa and the idea behind the documentary, the photo book.
So the idea was to go to Hargeisa. Initially, it was supposed to be more of a fashion-based project, but because for whatever reason I just decided like I'll have to just go where I've got, just my camera, and just go out to Hargeisa and explore. So my first instinct was to go there to create like a studio at my uncle's house and turn it into like a studio. So I shot my siblings, I shot my family, like my relatives, even a few locals as well, and the people that I was surrounded with that kind of were part of that project. But more importantly, I wanted to kind of capture like Somali sort of like youth, you know what I mean, and bringing like fashion in towards that element when it comes to style. And I wanted to bring like the fashion element, like the streets of Hargeisa, like the fabrics, like the trousers that like signifies like Hargeisa clothes as part of the whole like aesthetic, and it was beautiful making that work,
Can you describe your favourite photos?
Oh, my favorite image. So I was in Berbera. It was a road trip. It was a long ass trip, but the good thing was getting towards Berbera, especially like the beach part of it as well. Yeah. Just seeing, amazing faces, beautiful people. They were, in the beach having fun, and they were just like, just in their natural element. And I was just like, there's one that I particularly like where the kid wasn't even looking at me and he was looking like that. And I was like, oh. It was beautiful because in a way it just signifies like, sort of like the colors of like Somaliland, Berbera, you know what I mean? Like just that sort of aesthetic and that color. but more importantly, it just shows like a lot of thing that just says Somaliland to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also like and the other one I like as well is the two boys when they were holding their hands, like to signify like power, you know, black power. You know what I'm saying? You know, just like even mixing with the colors, like the red and blue, so kind of immaculate in the backgrounds, you know, just within the natural element. My aim was for me not to make it more structured. I wanted it to be more natural and let them have this sort of freedom to express. Yeah, so I think that's the key.
What's the importance of a mentor?
I think it's key to have a mentor. I had many mentors because I studied at University of East London first of all, and I graduated. And throughout my 3 years of my university, I've realised that I think having a mentor is very much important. I had people like David Bennett, who was my lecturer at the time, who influenced me a lot, especially like Raf Simons, and introduced me a lot about fashion, just the introduction of fashion as well. To having mentors like Olu, who was like More Than Matter, and to now like obviously having people like Ibrahim, and those kind of people is the people you want to be surrounded with. You know what I mean? Because they've been there, they've made mistakes, now they're in the big fish now. But yeah, I think having a mentor is key because they're the ones who can give you like an honest opinion about your work, what you should and what you shouldn't do. I think that plays a huge part of your own, when it comes to your own craft as well and your own work. Because I think you definitely need that. You know what I mean? Without that, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult. You know what I mean? You don't want to lose the suga, you know what I mean? So you want to be within the suga, stay afloat. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I think that's key. Just always have someone that kind of gets your work as well, that has a better understanding, and not someone like wants to remove that away from what you're trying to do. Yeah.
What are the key messages that you want to put out there?
I always tell my fellow Somali creatives to always keep working, keep pushing, keep creating. I think that's key. And I think opportunities will always come. Always make work, but always make mistakes, because mistakes, they're there for you to improve in the end. You know what I mean? And always be good. Surrounded by good people. That are gonna push you to the next level. I think that's the key ingredients to that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I always tell my fellow Somalis to keep going and keep pushing, keep thriving. All my fellow Somali queens, my Somali kings. You know what I mean? This is for y'all.
What are you working on at the moment?
Well, at the moment I'm working on at the moment like an EP cover that I'm shooting with. So I'm working with this artist called HMD. He's a very profound, amazing Somali musician based in Manchester. So I'm shooting his EP cover, but I'm also doing an exhibition in Manchester, which kind of cultivates more around Moss Side. There's a lot of growing Somalis based around Moss Side. So I'm going to do an exhibition in Home next year. So I think that was going to be that everyone needs to save the date for. Yeah, so yeah, I think that one is going to be the real big fish that everyone needs to look out forward for that. But also, yeah, just more new things. You know what I mean? Just preparing a lot of stuff for like next year. For sure.
Well, thank you so much, Sharmaarke. I really, really enjoyed talking to you today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming and talking to me. And I can see you've got a bright future ahead of you.
Thank you.
I hope to see you soon, and
Me too.
I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.